Just to clarify, this is the refresher training, the Texas Tier 2 Chemical Reporting refresher training. So this assumption is that you have done reporting in the past, or you're familiar enough with the reporting that you only need basic information about reminding you how to do it, how to get into the system, and also you're here to get updates on what might have changed since last year. So this training is scheduled for 2 hours. It'll probably take us around an hour and 15 minutes, maybe up to an hour and a half, depending on the questions that we have after the presentation. So we're going to cover the updates, the Tier 2 application updates, and then talk about the steers reminder that comes out every 2 years and always is a surprise. It's been a surprise even to me on my test accounts, having to make sure I renew my steers participation agreement. We're going to cover how to file your Tier 2 report when you have reported before. That process, if nothing has changed, is really fast, but we'll go over a couple of scenarios later on in the presentation. So first of all, let's just do an overview of the laws and regulations. So there is the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act of 1986. That was created to help communities plan for chemical emergencies and establish the establish a requirement for state response commissions and for local emergency planning committees. The local emergency planning committees, or LEPCs, are required to develop an emergency response plan. And in Texas, most of the LEPCs are at the county level. So when you're done with your report and you are having to send that to your LEPC, it's in most cases it's your county contact, and we have a list for that for you. As far as the state laws, there's the Texas Health and Safety Code, and our reports are broken into 3 different types of filers. We've got the manufacturers, public employers, and the non-manufacturers. And so those are determined by NAICS code. The rules, there is 30 TAC 325, and we did go through rulemaking in 2020. So the highlights, the most important one to talk about is the updated facility identifier information in order to meet the TCQ requirements. So if a facility is located within an incorporated area, then you would have a street address. So you would provide the street address along with the latitude and longitude. But if a facility is located in an unincorporated area, you may not have a street address, but if you do, then provide that. And if you don't have the street address, we need driving directions in addition to the latitude and longitude. So in the past, we would get a bunch of information that just said CLAT long. That's not good enough. We need driving directions that would give emergency response personnel an idea of how to get to the front gate. So here's an example. For example, you'd say from intersection of Ranch Road 2802, go 3.4 miles south on Highway 6 and turn west on to Gravel Road, and then drive approximately 1.2 miles to site. And you can shorten things like, Ranch Road and south and Highway and west, so that way you don't exceed the character limit that we have for the driving directions. And if you need any help with that, if you've got a really long description, just contact us with the customer help form, and we can give you some idea of how to shorten the driving directions. So what is appropriate facility identifier? It's The location identification, which provides a physical street address or other identifiers, which are sufficient for emergency planning purposes and for data management by the Commission. So TCQ staff may request that location information be updated, and increasingly the LEPCs can request that location information to be updated. So don't be surprised if your LEPC contacts you and says, hey, you know, we're looking at this information in our GIS software and it doesn't match up, please update it. And if you need any help with doing that as well, you can reach out to us with the customer help form. So who needs to report? Sites that are storing hazardous chemicals at or above the reporting threshold are required to file the Tier 2 report. A subset of chemicals is identified as the extremely hazardous substances, and they are assigned a threshold planting quantity. So specifically, hazardous chemical is any chemical which is classified as a physical or health hazard, simple asphyxiant, combustible dust, pyrophoric gas, or hazard not otherwise classified. So if your HAZCOM plan requires that you keep a safety data sheet and that you have a chemical as part of your HAZCOM plan, then it's a hazardous chemical. And we have a chart here to help to differentiate hazardous chemical versus EHS. So for hazardous chemical, there's no specific list. There's millions of chemicals, and the threshold on that is 10,000 pounds or more. Whereas the EHS, there is a specific list, and that's found at 40 CFR 355 Appendix A and B. On that list are 355 chemicals, and the reporting requirement on that is 500 pounds or the threshold planting quantity, whichever is less. And I'll show you an example of that here. So this is what the EHS list looks like, and it's listed in Appendix A alphabetically, and then Appendix B is the same information listed by CAS number. So that way you can look it up either way. But I wanted to touch on the difference of 500 pounds or TPQ, whichever is less. If you look there, chlorine, to the far right of the table, it shows that the TPQ is 100 pounds. So that means that if you have 100 pounds of chlorine, then you would have to report it. And if you look a couple of lines up at chloridane, the TPQ on that is 1,000. Well, the reporting requirement is 500 pounds or TPQ, whichever is less. So for chloridane, if you had 500 pounds of it, then you would have to report that. And payment information. So we wanted to throw this in here early on, that there's been some updates on payment information. There is a credit card processing fee, and you can use the ACH if you prefer, and there's no service fees on that. And most noteworthy here is that you can now make payments above $1,000, all the way up to 80,000. So we've got the threshold really high so that people don't have to make multiple payments to cover one report. There were several situations in the past when it was at 1,000, so we finally got that updated so that it's more convenient for you to make your payment. And as far as the fees, so there's a fee for the annual and initial reports. And just to be aware, for public employers, on your initial report, there's no fee. You will have fees on your annual reports following your initial report, but when you do that first report in our system as a public employer, you will not have a fee on that one. The fees are based on the NAICS code. Like I said before, the NAICS code determines if you're classified as a manufacturer, non-manufacturer, or public employer. And the fees are based on number of facilities as well as the number of chemicals in the report. And just as a reminder, facilities that are both manufacturing and non-manufacturing are billed at the manufacturing rate. So the fee consolidation, this has changed recently. The fee consolidation for multiple facilities owned by one operator, you must have fewer than 25 chemicals, and they must be filed by a single operator on one report. Manufacturers can consolidate 2 facilities into one payment of $100. Non-manufacturers can consolidate 3, and public employers can consolidate 7 facilities. So this is not the first year of this update, but for some people, it's a good reminder. So penalty and interest on delinquent fees. Our payment system has been incorporated into the TCEQ payment system over the past few years. You know, when we started out a few years back, it was manually addressed, and with it now being moved into the revenue section of TCEQ, as far as the payments, there are penalties and delinquent fees. And like I said, this slide deck will be shared with you. I'm not going to go over all the penalties and all that. It's listed here. Just know that that clock starts after you submit your report, and they'll send out a notice. So if you have to run your bill through some internal department, to do it as soon as you can, so that way the payment can get processed before 30 days has passed. And if there's any overlap in any of that and any questions, then just let us know. Fill out a customer help form, and we can answer any questions you have on whether or not your bill has been applied, paid. We do have deficiency reports that you may get notification later on next year. So the reporting period ends March 1st, and just a week or two after that, we start doing reviews. And if we find deficiencies, we will create a deficiency report. And these cover items that are not easily validated by the system. So if it needs additional information or attention, you will get an email that there's a deficiency report that needs to be addressed. So items are broken down into these 3 categories, and we've got a couple of examples. So for the facility, a big one is that the latitude and longitude coordinates for the facility may not be correct. And another one is that if there's no street address, that we need the driving directions, like I said before. So if your report is still one of those lingering out there that says Sea Light Long, then you will be getting a deficiency report created. So on the chemicals, we look to see is a map provided, and if not, is a precise chemical location provided that can be used by emergency planners or response personnel. And also, are all EHS chemicals listed as EHS? There's some ways to enter chemicals, you know, just free text entering it. For example, chlorine, if you just typed it in instead of selecting it from our menu, then it creates an issue where you've got chlorine in your report and it's listed as no for EHS. Things like that, you'll get a deficiency report from us, and we'll walk you through how to fix that. It's actually not as simple as y'all might want it to be, but we can walk you through the process of chemicals that are not listed properly in the report. As far as contacts, the biggest one is our 2 unique emergency contact phone numbers provided. So this has been one that we made a lot of progress on over the past several years, but as new reports come in, we find that sometimes emergency contact does not have 2 unique phone numbers, and you'll get a deficiency report on that as well. So this is what a list of reports would look like on your end. So you would click on the blue deficiency correction draft report that was created, and you'd go through and fix the errors. There's no fee associated with this. And after you've submitted the report, remember to send a copy to your LAPC and local fire department. Okay, so another item that we need to talk about is Tier 2 investigations. So TCQ representative may enter a facility at reasonable times to conduct compliance inspections, and advance notice is not required. We are seeing year after year that more investigations are being conducted. These could be specifically Tier 2 investigations, but most often it's an investigation that is incorporated with other activities that the TCQ inspectors are doing. For example, if they're out for the regular inspection, then they're going to roll in Tier 2 to see if you're compliant with that. Your Tier 2 report should match the reportable chemicals on site. So if you get a new chemical on site, your initial report is required within 90 days. If you have a new facility, initial report is required in 90 days. And if you have updated or new information for your facilities, such as contacts or chemicals, then the update report is required within 90 days. There's only certain things you can do on an update report, and for the update report, there is no fee. Your chemical storage locations should match your Tier 2 report. So investigators should be able to find your chemical locations based on the chemical information provided in that report. So here's an easy slide to reference when you're ready to work on your report. Use these steps if you filed last year and had minimal changes. You'd log in to STEERS and select the Tier 2 reporting application. And I don't think I have a slide that expands on it later, so I'll tell you right now, if you're going to log into STEERS and you're not sure what your password is, well, if you know that you don't know it, then just select I need my password. If you think you know what your password is, try it once, and if that doesn't work, then select I need my password, because one thing that can really eat up time is forgetting your password and then putting it in wrong 5 times and getting locked out. So just do a password reset if you're having password issues on your first attempt. So step 2, add draft report. Choose the type of report and give it a title if you want. Step 3, add the existing facilities to the report, then review the facility data. Update any information needs to be updated, validate your report, then submit it, export and print the report, and then send the report to your fire department and LEPC. Here's that reminder on STEERS account renewals. So every 2 years, the STEERS participation agreement needs to be signed, is basically what's going on. An email is sent out. Let's see, I don't know that we have an example of it. Let me go back. Email goes out, pretty much everybody misses it. And then if you don't go in and your account expires, it doesn't go away, and you don't need to get a new account. It's just that you need to contact STEERS directly and have them pull it out of archiving, and then you can use the account. So it's not a huge deal. It's just an inconvenience. It's another one of those things that takes quite a bit of extra time that you weren't expecting when you go in to do your reporting. So this is that login page, and you see down below it says I need my password. That's what I was talking about a little while ago. And then you're going to answer your security question. And hopefully these were something that you wrote down or easily remember, you know, whether you used uppercase or lowercase. And verify that these logins were made by you. And then there's Tier 2 reporting. And if you have any problems, if none of this is flowing as easy as it seems in the presentation, then reach out to us. We'd be glad to help you. We can help you troubleshoot what the issues are or why you can't get in. I think a lot of y'all know that getting access is always really the largest hurdle. Once you get in, it's pretty easy. And this is what it looks like when you're into the system. It's all really easy from here. So you select your Tier 2 account. If you've only got one account, you would not see this page. If you've got multiple, then this is what it would look like. And then you will end up where you have the choice to start a draft report. So now you're really getting somewhere. If you don't have any changes at this point, you're like 5 minutes away from being done. So you click Start Draft Report and then select the type. It's most likely going to be an annual report, which starting those drafts opened up on November 1st. So you can start your draft report now and then file it come January, sometime between January and March 1st. You give it a report title if you want. If you've got several reports that are going to be submitted throughout the year, you might want to give it a title to differentiate your report from any others that are being reported under this customer number. And then you would choose Add Existing Facility to put the facilities in your report. There is a button up top, so if let's say in a previous report you had inactivated a facility, given it an expiration date, either intentionally or inadvertently, to see those inactive facilities, you would toggle that to yes, because only facilities that have been properly affiliated using Tier 2 core data will appear on this list, and a facility can only be present on one draft report at a time. And you'll see that there's an arrow pointing up to facilities available to be added. So you want to check the box for the facility, and then you would click Save. We'll get there in the next slide. But so if you have missing facilities, if you don't see it available to add to draft report, and then it's one of these three reasons. The RN was never properly affiliated to your TXT2 number using Tier 2 core data, or the facility is present and it's on another draft report. If that's the case, you can use Transfer Facility to move it to another draft report. Or a facility was previously inactivated on a submitted report, like I was saying before. So you can include inactive facilities so that you can view it and put it into this draft report. And those facilities can only be reactivated on an annual or initial report. Okay, so you selected the facilities and then you'll click Save. And you'll see that now those RNs are blue hyperlinks. You use those to access the draft facility reports to review them. You can add additional facilities to the draft report, or you can transfer facilities between draft reports. And yes, the facilities have to be reviewed individually by clicking on them one by one. So when you click on one of those RN numbers, you'll end up on this page where you've got the facility, chemicals, and contacts tabs. You'll click on each section to view it and update it as needed. Okay, so the latitude and longitude, this information might be locked. If you need to update that information and it's locked, then reach out to us and we can make it where it's updatable for you. And there's a show facility on map link there. You can use that to check your coordinates. And this is what it looks like when you click on it. Use this to verify that the lat long coordinates you have listed match up with entrance to your facility. And there's a couple ways that you can use this. So if you were to click on the box that's got 4 squares in it, you have different layers that you can use. So you type in the address and that'll get you to the location, but then you may want to use the aerial map there to kind of get your bearings to find the coordinates for the front gate. So the latitude and longitude coordinates are important for emergency planning. Like I said before, you could be contacted by your LEPC as well as by TCQ to ensure that those coordinates are updated. And if you don't know how to get the accurate coordinates, that's just just like with everything else. If you need help with anything, just let us know. Okay, so facility status information. So on the facility tab, you'll find information on when the facility was first active for Tier 2 reporting purposes. So the first time you do your report, when you do your initial report, you can modify that activation date. Otherwise, it's just listed as unknown. And you can mark the date that you sold the facility or were no longer required to report for it. Just make sure that that's what you intend to do. If you did it inadvertently, it would not be automatically available for the next report. So just be careful when you're putting in dates that you know what you're interacting with on that. So more on closing out a facility. If you are doing that, you must provide the reason that you are inactivating the facility. Inactivated facilities can be reactivated with an initial report if needed. So this is what it would look like if you were inactivating a facility and then selecting a reason for it. Okay, so the facility detail page for chemicals. So this shows the current chemicals on the report there. In blue, you'll see propane is already on it, but you may need to add a new chemical. So you'd click add. And then below that, if you need to add an attachment or site plan, you can click on that choose file to add that in. And here's an example, a really simple example of a site map. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. And actually, sometimes we get maps that are so complicated that they're not useful. Here's one example, and then there's another example of a site map. So these are both really easy to put together. You're not required to do this. We get a lot of reports that have descriptions of where the chemicals are located, and that's fine. So we just want to let you know what a site map would look like if you might already have one available. So if you're adding a chemical, you want to first search from our chemical library. So like I mentioned earlier about chlorine, there's a way to put chlorine in and it not be in EHS. And we don't want that to happen. So please use our chemical library by clicking on select chemical. You'll end up on this page and you can search either by CAS number or chemical name. You don't want to do both, so choose one or the other. And if you know that it's a chemical that's, say, proprietary, if you needed to just free text enter your chemical, you would click back. But let's say you're interacting with the search and you want to search for chlorine. This is how you get to it. You type in the name chlorine and click search and you'll get these results, but we're going to show you the difference of results when you search by CAS number versus chemical name. So by searching by chemical name, you get 4 different CAS numbers. Some are EHS, some are not, and you'll see there's 62 records. Whereas if you search by cast number, you get 9 records. So you'll get multiple different names for it. They're all EHS, and you just get 9 records by searching cast number. So if you got your safety data sheet, you're going to get more fine, detailed results by using the cast number. So you've selected it, and you end up back over here. So each chemical will require chemical quantity and storage location information to be provided. There is a item there that says actual max amount and largest container. We do recommend completing this. It's not required, but we would like the information. This information is used when planning for response to spills. Okay, so other items to fill out on the chemical is whether it's pure or mixture, whether it's solid, liquid, or gas. And then you've got the health effects and physical hazards. These are found on your safety data sheet. We've got the stored quantity amount in pounds. So you'll see there's the maximum daily amount range as well as the average daily amount range. So those are required, and then the actual amounts are not required to enter, but if you have them, you can put them in as well. As far as mixture components, this is for constituent chemicals if dealing with a mixture that easily separates. So we do have information on our website about how to determine if you have a mixture or not for Tier 2 reporting purposes. And then down at the bottom, it's really easy to miss, is the add button for the detailed storage location. When you're adding your health effects and hazards, you would click the add button to expand those one by one. You'll do the health effects, and then you can go over and do the hazards. So these are listed separately on your safety data sheet. And this is what each of those boxes looks like. Click the boxes next to the health effect or hazard, and then select OK. Now that chemical storage location, that add button that I said was down at the bottom and it's easy to miss, you'll click on that, and this is what that page would look like. So the chemical location description should allow someone unfamiliar with the facility to find the referenced hazardous material. And the red asterisk denotes a required field. You'll click on the arrows for the drop-down menus for both for the container type, pressure, and container temperature. And you can have multiple locations. So you can add multiple locations because you might have it in different areas of a warehouse or different locations on the site. So you can add that multiple locations for chemical. So as far as contacts, if this is what your contacts page looks like, you would click add. And if you know that you've already got contacts listed, then you can click on select existing contact. If you are just adding a new contact, then you start entering it here without doing the search. So if you were searching for existing contacts, this is what it would look like. You'd fill in the radio button and then click select. All right, so required contact information. So we tried to make the selecting of roles as user-friendly as possible. So the required contact roles are owner-operator, Tier 2 information contact, billing contact, and emergency contact. Just remember the emergency contact must have a 24-hour phone type and a second different number. If you have an EHS that you're reporting, you will also need to have someone with the role of facility emergency coordinator. Okay, so adding or removing contact phone numbers. So there's another one of those time-saving tips is that you want to add the new phone number before deleting the old phone number. The system does not allow you to not have a 24-hour phone type for an emergency contact, and it can be really frustrating if you're trying to change that emergency contact's phone numbers by deleting the number and then adding a number, because the system won't allow you. And so that's why we tell you add the new phone number first and then delete the old one. The contact information can be updated in an update report. And the emergency contact information is extremely important. So if that person changes or the phone numbers change throughout the year, we want to have that update report from you, and then you would send the update to your LAPC and fire department. So adding or removing contact phone numbers, this is what the screen looks like, and there's that 24-hour phone type that I mentioned. Okay, so making changes to existing contacts. When you try to save changes that you have made to an existing contact record, you will be asked whether you would like to apply the changes to all instances of that contact. Applying changes will update the contact on every facility that the contact record is included with. There is a button that it is add contacts to multiple facilities. So you select facilities that you want to apply that to. The thing is, the facilities must be present on a draft report to appear in the add contact to multiple facilities function. So only interact with that add contact to multiple facilities if that's specifically what you want to do. All right, so you've gone through the facility information, the chemicals, and the contacts, and you think you're ready to submit the report. We do recommend that you first do validate report data. The processing time is like 1/10 of the time of clicking on submit report. So you should do the validate report data. That way you can find out right away if you've got any errors that need to be addressed. So confirm that you want to run the validation check, and if everything is clear, then you'll get this. It says validation passed with no errors. If errors exist, you will get a notification, and report submittal error log will be created. And so that's what that looks like. You'll get the alert up top, and then where to find the errors is being pointed at down below. That's the submittal error log. So you click on that, and it's got a whole lot of header information, TCEQ, Tier 2 report, and all that, and CN number. So once you get down past all that, you'll get to the listing of the errors. And it'll be listed by which RN is having the issue, so that you can go through and tackle those and then come back and validate again. So let's say you've got everything corrected, or it passed validation on first attempt. Now you're ready to click on Start Submission. And this is what that page looks like. Don't miss the certification box there. You'll check that. You put in your title, signature, and password. Here's a close-up of those items. Check the box, put in your title, signature, and the password is your steer's password. Depending on the report size, if submission is large, you will receive an email when it's complete. If it's just 1 or 2 facilities, it'll process right then and there, and you'll get this confirmation of submittal. That's what that looks like, which means everything was great. So the confirmation of submittal document serves as proof that the tutor report has been submitted for the listed facilities. It includes a summary of the submission fees if an annual or initial report was submitted. You'll then see a Pay Now button down at the bottom of the page that links to our ePay feature. And there's just a reminder of the fact that there's service fee for credit card payment. You can use the ACH, and that there's not a $1,000 limit any longer. So the ways to export submitted reports, I'm going to go over each of these. So we just have it listed out here, and then I'll explain further about what each of these means. But you can access the submitted report from the reports list page, or from the report detail page, or by going to export print reports. You can create a custom export job. And the submitted facility reports can be exported as either a PDF or an XML file. The XML file is the data file. So the report list, this is the first one there. So after submitting your report, you can find your reports on the report list page. So on the left, that's accessed by clicking on reports list, and then you'll see that there's an annual and an initial report that's been submitted. If you look over to the right of that line item that says annual, you'll see two icons, the PDF icon and the XML icon for the data file. If you're going to be emailing these files to your LAPC and fire department, I recommend that you go ahead and download the data file and the PDF and send them both. So that way you're sure that you're giving them what they need. So this is the report detail page. So if you were to click on, say, that annual report, that takes you to what's called the report detail page. And you'll see about 3/4 of the way down there, it says report files, it says download XML file and download PDF file. So that's what it means by saying that it's available in the report detail page. Smaller reports will submit and automatically create report files, whereas the larger ones will take some time to process, and you'll get an email when that's done processing. Now, if you were to click on Export Print Reports there on the left, it'll take you to this page, and you have a lot more options. So let's say you wanted to get an export for all the reports that you submitted under that CN for a particular county. Then you could expand out, search by location, and you could do a custom report. And once you get your results listed, you then select the export format that you would like. So the exported facility reports will appear after refreshing the page, and these can be accessed for 5 days. So let's say that you did select to do a particular county, you got your search results, and then you click to export to one PDF. Well, if you go and click on Export Print Reports there on the left, again, that refreshes the page. That's the way I always refresh the page. I don't interact with the refresh back buttons on the browser because I know that the system doesn't work as great using those buttons up top. So the best way to refresh the page is clicking in our menu on Export Print Reports. All right, so we're going to talk about just a couple of scenarios. Let's say that you're in this situation I reported last year and have the same facilities. You log into your Steers account, you open up Tier 2 reporting, you click on Add Draft, Start Draft Report, so you add that report and then add the facilities to the report. You review that, update any facility information. Please look at the contacts, make sure that all those contacts are still the correct people. Validate and submit the report, then print the report by exporting as PDF. And if you need the data file, the XML file as well. Keep a copy of the report on site or have it accessible. You know, if you're only keeping it on your computer, make sure it's something that somebody can get to. And send a copy to the LEPC and fire department. And don't forget the filing fee, or make sure that whatever department is going to pay that does it in a timely manner. All right, different scenario. We're not going to go over all of the scenarios, just a couple. What if I reported last year and added a new facility? So you'll log into your STEERS account, and for that new facility only, you'll use Tier 2 core data. So that is to affiliate that RN number to your customer number. You'll sign and submit that. It's another one of those points where if you need help on either adding core data or using core data, let us know. We'd be glad to help you. For the new owner, if you have a new owner operator, if you're adding a CN, just remember that you're going to have to add that CN to Tier 2 reporting, and then sign the STEERS participation agreement. Good thing about signing that STEERS participation agreement is it resets that 2-year expiration clock. So you'll validate and submit your report after going through everything, and print the report and do all the things that we mentioned previously. Okay, what if you sold a facility last year? So to file your report, you'll add the draft report, you'll add the existing facilities, and select that facility that was sold. And on the facility tab, you'll give it an expiration date, an end date, and reason. That's the date that the facility was closed, sold, or stopped storing Tier 2 chemicals. Let's see, that is taking us towards the end. We've got information here on Tier 2 resources. Our homepage, list of EHSs, laws and regs. We do have training guides and videos. So like I said, this one's being recorded. The full training will be tomorrow, and that one's going to be recorded as well. So these videos are going to be updated at those links. It's going to take us a few days, you know, to get the videos uploaded. So if you've got anybody at your organization that needs either of the trainings but can't get registered, we will have the videos available for you. And a lot of people ask, okay, well, how do I get a reminder that my report's due, or how do I know what's going on with the program and not get blindsided? Well, this is where you can sign up for email updates, not just the Tier 2 program, but other programs at TCQ, so that so you don't get blindsided by deadlines. And then there's our basic contact information. That help form is really the most efficient way to contact us. Waiting on hold is not as big of a deal as it used to be. But there, you know, so there's our phone number. The help form is a sure way to not end up waiting on hold, though.